Welcome to Cycle Breakers and Moneymakers, a podcast for women of color and first gen who are breaking generational cycles and glass ceilings by going places no one before them has ever gone. I'm your host, leadership coach, and eldest daughter of immigrants, Mariela De La Mora. I left a 16-year marketing career to create a multiple six-figure-a-year coaching business as a single mom. Each week, you'll learn how to build unshakable self-trust, become in demand, lead with confidence, and make more money by being more of who you are. Hello, everyone. Okay, it has been a minute. I know it has been a minute on the podcast. It is back, and I'm excited with how it is back with who I'm speaking to today. And because we're both marketers and we just like adore and admire each other as people, and she is also not only a member of Reclamation, but she's also just a marketer and a person that I have loved following and seeing her evolution, that I'm just so excited to have her on. We're going to be talking about misconceptions around marketing strategy, a lot of the pain points that people experience in having to market their businesses and things they've tried and like why they haven't worked. And we're also going to just be talking about Reclamation, the program, in a mini episode that's going to follow this episode. So with that being said, I'm very excited to welcome Kierra Conover to the podcast. Kierra is formerly a marketing strategist. She used to work for Banana Republic and The Gap. She is now the founder of KLC the Studio. KLC the Studio is a boutique agency. They help service providers, coaches, product brands, everyone to build and sell their offers with data-backed messaging. And this is going to be important. We're going to talk more about this in our episode. So data-backed messaging. She has over 7 years of experience leading billion-dollar marketing initiatives. She has managed high-profile campaigns that have included and featured celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow and Kanye West. So Kierra now helps clients to use their data to refine their messaging, to connect with their audiences and increase their sales. So this is like no guesswork, no copy paste other people's strategy. We're going to be talking about data. We're going to be talking about things that you probably are going to be like, why didn't somebody tell me this before? Which is what makes a really powerful episode. So that being said, I'm so excited to welcome you, Kierra, to the show to talk all about this. So thank you for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. And that intro never gets old. I'm always like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Yeah. This is the thing about when it comes to marketing, like there aren't very many people who are entrepreneurs who actually came from the world of marketing. I think that people came from different worlds. And I sometimes find that it almost makes it harder because even though you know what you know, you're also just like, okay, yeah, like let me do this the right way. Yeah. And you almost forget. I know for me, I forgot I was a whole ass marketer for like a minute and I needed to come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I got caught up too. I'm like, wait, I do this.
Yeah. Like people paid me. People paid me money. And like your campaigns made like billions of dollars, right? So it's so interesting because I think I realized in entrepreneurship that like when you are managing a budget and that budget is responsible for making a company money, right? It's almost like we're taking what we do as like, we're not solopreneurs because we have team members, but like essentially like small business owners, and how there's still a lot of things that ring true. Granted, it's not as complicated, but I think that like the same marketing principles still apply. So I wanted to just ask you about that. So firstly, just tell me, like, I want you to kind of just introduce yourself however you want to introduce yourself and have it kind of end with like, what brought you to start your own studio and like leaving corporate and stuff, because oftentimes that is, sometimes it's like personal and lifestyle and things like that. But sometimes it's also, you want to be able to do the work that you do with like your way and to solve some problem. So I want to just hear that from you.
Yeah. So my entire career has been in the fashion industry. I went to school for fashion merchandising, which is basically like apparel sales. So we build a collection. We then pass off that collection to the marketing team to position it to sell. And then we oversee the actual inventory of the product, right? So that was my role as like a merchandiser. I went to school to learn how to do that. My mom did it. And so I grew up going to Safeway with her and watching her merchandise in store. And then I went to, I learned how to do that from my mom. And then I went off to college and I studied merchandising. And when I graduated, I had every intention of following my mother's footsteps, being an in-store merchandiser, which means like you go into the store, You take the product from off the shelf. You're the person that's in charge of doing the entire layout, the styling, the everything. And I was like, okay,
I didn't realize they did. I don't think people, that's like an invisible job, but it's a visible job.
It is an invisible job.
Experience it, but you don't realize it. And I didn't realize, like we said, you went with your mom to Safeway. What was she merchandising?
Yeah, Safeway's merchandised. So what they merchandise in Safeway are all of the end displays. Those are multi-million dollar in those end caps on the end of the aisle. Those generate millions of dollars. All of the displays for the holidays. So your Valentine's Day aisle, that was all my mom. She had to order the product, pick out all the layout, pick how it was going to organize, was the person that was in charge of making sure that the product was properly replenished, was the person in charge of markdowns. And she did all of the, then like in some of like if you're familiar with San Francisco, but there's like the marina, and then there's like some really prime real estate stores in Marin County in the Bay Area that have like floor to ceiling windows. And if you go into those Safeways, you'll notice that like they're always like beautiful displays in the front. My mom,
the one in my neighborhood is like that. It's like a bougie Safeway with floor to ceiling windows. They have like home goods in there. They have like beautiful flower displays. They have, if it's whatever the holiday is, it's an entire
wall.
And that's where my daughter's always like, oh my gosh, they have like the cutest. And it's just like they just want you to spend all the money. That makes sense.
Yeah. So like we would wake up at 2 a.m. and go merchandise the store before it opened.
Wow.
And she would be the person that would be setting up those displays. And so I grew up
this story, Kierra,
watching that.
Because I'm just like, that's a beautiful mother-daughter moment of just like, I'm going with mommy for her to do her job, and like how that influences you.
Yeah. I used to like eat like fresh donuts in the morning at 5 a.m. Because I'd be in like, it would just be me and the donut man and my mom merchandising.
That was the best.
Yeah.
I love
fresh donuts. So I grew up being exposed to merchandising and following my mom from store to store as she would merchandise. And then I went off to college and decided I was going to be a merchandiser, but I didn't want to do it for the grocery business. I wanted to do it for fashion. And when I graduated, I applied for this job at Gap, and they were like, look, I don't know if they told you this when you were in school or whatever, but like store merchandising is going bye-bye, and we're doing this online thing now, and we need online merchandisers. And I was like, I don't know anything about online. Like, this is back when like Macy's didn't even have a website. Okay. Like this is like OG. I graduated college, and they're like, like store merchandising is fading away, and we have this new thing called online merchandising. And we want to know if you want the job. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. Like,
that's wild. But it's like you came from, like, you had the lens of merchandising, but just not in the online sphere. Although it's like, I'm sure there's some general concepts that still apply, but when you think about the way you experience a physical store versus the way you experience a store online.
I was like, I know nothing about this. And they were like, well, good news is no one knows anything about it. So we're going to just, if you want the job, it's yours. We're pulling a whole bunch of different people who are either fresh out of college or who are store merchandisers, and we're trying to teach them online. But like, we really don't know what it is we're doing. We're going to put you all in this department, and you'll figure it out. So I was like, great, I'll take the gig. So I came.
So what does the job end up being? Now, obviously you did the job, but it's like, what is online merchandising for people who are like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So online merchandisers are the people that are responsible for all of the boutiques that you see on the website. So when you see the summer linen shop, the vacation shop, the gifting shop, we're the ones that put all those together.
And then there's going to be seasonal ones in there, all of that. So it's like, instead of you just going and searching, they like create, I get it. They curate
little looks
experiences for you to shop.
Exactly.
Like New Year's, like best New Year's looks. Like if you were checking a month ago,
wedding guest looks. Then
Valentine's Day date night outfits.
Valentine's Day, So
it's like the end cap of an aisle.
Yes.
But like online.
But like online.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And so you work with the product team to generate the product that you need, because you come into it with a story that you want to tell. So you come into the year and you're like, okay, I want to tell a Galentine's Day story. So then you partner with the design and the product team to create a Galentine's Day line. And then you then work with the marketing team to tell the Galentine's Day story. And so collectively you've immersed, and then you work with the inventory team to say, this is how many units I want of this product. So as an online merchandiser, we were the middleman between all of the departments.
Yeah.
And we were the ones that was basically just orchestrating the whole show of
You know
selling.
what you were actually doing, as I think about it? You make it easy for people to spend their money.
Yeah.
By being like, what is
our job
experience I'm going to create? What do people want? But how can what do people want in terms of theme or what's coming up?
Yep.
Then what do they actually want in terms of products? And then what experience and story can I craft and visuals can I craft to make that experience easy so that you just go to Macy's and you go, I don't know, I'm just going to go to Macy's. And then they're like, actually, don't mind if I do. And you just go down that rabbit hole until you go to checkout.
Yeah. Exactly. So you have to think about what is the end use of every single product that it is that you're putting on the website. And then how can you sell that product to the person?
Okay. That makes sense.
That's what it is that we were doing. And we partnered with multiple different people to tell that story. Okay. And in the beginning, we had nothing. I mean, we were shooting Gap photos with our iPhones and like Canon DSL cameras. I was in some of the pictures, like, because I was the only one that was like tall on my team. I would like be wearing sample jeans and like we'd be doing random, like it was so like some of the photos back then were just like, they were like, oh, we need a picture of the back. Like, crap, we don't have photos of the back. So we would just like take a camera and shoot a picture of the back of the dress and put it up online. Like it was like, like I sound like I'm 50 years old, but this was like not that many years ago.
Kierra, this makes me think about so many entrepreneurs were entrepreneurs in their jobs before they started a business, because you're basically telling me like y'all kind of started a little like extension. It's a division of the Gap. Yeah. And then in the Republic, and we all were that builder.
Yeah.
Where you were just like, hi, we're going to hire you to figure it out because we think you can, is that entrepreneurial brain. Because everything you're just like, I don't know, we need some pictures. I love hearing stories like that because what it reminds people, what I like to remind people of is you didn't just start thinking this way when you started your business. You always were the problem solver, the builder, the person who's like, well, I don't know this, but I know this. Yep. Let's figure it out, because that's a lot of what you do. And then now you help clients also to like work with, I guess, like moving parts, uncertainty, like how do you figure things out? Versus I think that if you were someone who created marketing strategies based on a ton of existing data and like something that was a very mature product, it would be a little bit harder to work with earlier stage business owners where there is active learning as you are helping them with marketing strategy and consulting and content and all the things, which we're going to talk about. Yeah. So this makes so much sense. Okay. Yeah. So that being said, now you started your business and I wanted to know, sometimes people start it because it's like they choose entrepreneurship before they choose the thing. Yeah. And other times people will choose the thing they want to do because they're just like, I love what I do, but I want to do it in a different capacity. Tell me a little bit about that. That's kind of the why behind your business.
Yeah. So I was the full blown, like committed corporate girly. Like I was like, I'm going to eventually be a CMO one day, either chief merchandising officer or chief marketing officer. But I knew like I was like all in. And
same, oddly enough.
Yeah. Like I was so proud of myself to be working that, like Gap was my dream company. I loved it there. And I was like fully committed. And then at the end of 2019, I had a really difficult like run in with my boss at work. And it was like a full body, like awakening, I guess you could say, that was just like, no matter how hard you work, no matter the fact that you are like the best on the team. I mean, in the 7 years that I was there, I was promoted 6 times. I was the person, like they made up a role to keep me on the team because that's how valuable I was. Yeah. I ran circles around every single person, and there's nobody, like, you don't have to like me, because there were a lot of people that didn't like me. There were a lot of people that thought I was too sassy. There were a lot of people that thought I was a know-it-all, which comes with layers as being a Black woman in corporate anyway.
Right. I'm already like,
I didn't say those things about my white counterparts, but I wasn't always the most well-liked, but I was the smartest freaking person on that team. And I was the most capable, and everybody knew it. Yeah. And
I think there's also something to be said about how, like, and I'll say this about how you're automatically overqualified, but I think especially if you're a Black woman, you're especially automatically overqualified if you because first of all, you're there. Second of all, you don't just get promoted. It's like you actually have to work harder and be more exceptional to be promoted. So it's like you're just like bet like all these end. So at the end to still kind of be met with things, resistance and all the things. It's like, okay, this is just the way that it's going to be.
And I really had bought into the idea that if I just kept showing up and kept showing my dedication and kept working my butt off, that eventually someone would see that hard work, respect it, and I would climbing up. And
you wouldn't have to prove yourself, because I kind of feel like that is a stage that women of color, and particularly Black women, actually are in for far too long, of the proving yourself. It's like, I've far surpassed the proving myself. So,
and I will never forget sitting down with my boss, who was white, and my whole team was white. I was the only person of color. And she was like, I don't think you're ready for a promotion. And I was asking for a promotion. She was like, I don't think you're ready for a promotion. Because typically people think that they're ready for a promotion and they really have about 6 months left. So she was like, let's give it some time. And I remember saying to her, no. And I'm not giving it any time. I'm worth the money right now. I'm worth the promotion right now. And that was when I started planning my exit. And then things sort of crumbled after that. And then I just remember closing out 2019 being like, I'm leaving corporate. Like, I'm never going to work for someone else again. My problem was that I had nowhere to go. Like, I knew it wasn't just a matter of like, I mean, I could have easily gotten another job at Levi's or Pinterest, or, I mean, there's tons of Bay Area, Williams-Sonoma. Like, it would have been very easy. Restoration Hardware. It would have been very easy for me to call up a colleague and been like, yo, you got a job for me. And I could have bounced over.
Especially when you work for a name like that. I think there's like this transference of like credibility on top of like your actual, you know, what you did at work. But I do think that with certain brands, they're like, oh, you worked for them. Like, exactly. And you have friends that have left and went to different places. And so everyone stays kind of in touch, and it's a small community. The fashion community inside of San Francisco is small. So it would have been very easy for me to have gone somewhere else. But I just remember feeling like I knew that I was leaving. I just didn't have anywhere to go. Literally 2 weeks after I have this run-in at work, and I'm like, my mind has clicked that I will never work for anyone ever again. I'm leaving. I get a call from a friend of mine, and she says, hey, I am starting this business with my sister. They are 2 social workers. And she was like, we want to start this wellness community for Black women. And she was like, we wanted to have a combination of therapy, wellness, and I think there was some other component that I can't remember. And she's like, the problem is that we don't know anything about marketing, and we don't know anything about running a business online. And this was like right at the start of COVID. And so she was like, we were planning on doing this all in-person events. And she was like, and now with COVID here, like, we don't know how to build this business. She was like, but you do this work. Like, can you help us out? And I was like, but I'm really kind of like a merchandiser. Like, I dabble in marketing, but like, it's a secondary part of my job, right? It's not my main gig. But I was like, we'll see. Like, and there's a lot of parts about marketing that I actually think, like, if you're a marketer, you by default have some sort of like a little like lens, even if you're a generalist. Like, there still is that. But I think about marketing as the way you think. It's like if you have a marketing brain. So I always talk about, your marketing brain, I need your marketing brain, because it's like a marketer brain is you understand, you study how people think, and you know how to assume how people think so that you can make things, you can influence behavior.
Yeah, exactly. And as a merchandiser, you do the same thing. You just do it from a lens of product rather than like messaging.
Okay. So then did they wind up being your first client?
Yeah, ironically, but I did it for free. And I was like, because I was just testing my ideas.
Yes, that makes sense.
And I was like, let me see if I can bring a whole business to market and see what happens. And
did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I want to be nosy and be like, I'm going to look them up. That's so cool, though.
Yeah, like within 8 months, we had so many followers. It was getting to the point where people were asking us about, do you guys have services? Like, we needed to start putting some stuff out there because people were like...
So you needed to keep up with demand, essentially, like create something to meet the demand that this created.
We had celebrity following. We had gone viral multiple times. It was getting really, really big. Okay. And we got to the point where we were going to start offering services. And she was just kind of like, listen, like, I think we really want to pump the brakes on this. And like, it's just moving a little too fast. And I also think your vision for the direction that is that you would want to take this versus our vision is just different. So she was like, well, you have two options. One is stick with the team, kind of slow down, and let's like kind of reevaluate the pace, or you can go out on your own. And I was like, I'm going to go out on my own. And I was like, there's no way that I can slow down now that I know what I'm capable of. So
yeah,
within like 3 weeks of us leaving that relationship, I like literally within 3 days of leaving that relationship, that partnership, I branded my name, like got a new name, got a new website, got everything, started selling services. I literally put everything that it is that I did
launched yourself.
For them. Yeah, I launched myself within 72 hours, launched myself. And I had a client 3 weeks later. And then I signed that first client. She paid me $1,500. And then 2 weeks later, I signed another client and she paid me $3,000. And I was like, money, we're done. I was like, this is it.
Yep. So I'm like, so it's like you used at this point, you're like, I am a marketer. You already launched a whole business. Now I'm going to launch my business. And now you do this for clients. So I wanted to ask you now, tell us about your business now. And then I'm going to ask you a question. I think I shared it with you earlier, but I want to ask you a question because that's what's going to shape our, like what we're going to talk about. So tell me a little bit now about what KLC the Studio does. I know I said it in the intro, but like, what are the offerings and things that you deliver to clients now?
So, I mean, my brand has gone through many different iterations from the time that it is that I initially launched it. But what I would say now and what all of those experiences taught me is that like my company is really rooted in two things, which is like messaging and data, and having the messaging being backed by your data, which can be both qualitative and quantitative, right? It can be like the hardcore numbers, or it can just be my people tell me X, Y, and Z. And this is why I sell this offer. And so what we focus on now is helping you get both of those data points inside of your business so that you can create messaging that converts.
So quantitative being almost like what we would call like soft data, which is like people have said versus actual numbers, which is like facts, right? So like taking both of those things and then from there being able to help clients with strategy, with messaging that's based in data, but you have to create the data first or capture the data first.
Exactly. Okay. Most people come to us with the like soft data of like, here's what my people have said. Here's what I know about my business. Like, here's what I feel in my gut, X, Y, and Z, right? And we use that as a baseline. And then there comes a point in your business where once you're making, I mean, the earlier you can get the data, the better, because you can't, there's a word that I'm
retroactively.
You can't retroactively gather data. So I always like to tell people like, just attach the UTMs and the Google Analytics stuff to your content. And then we'll figure out reading it and assessing it later, but just get it on there so that when you are ready.
People don't even realize what those things are, like UTMs and things like that, which is essentially, it's like trackers that will let you know how content is performing by not just being limited by open rates on your flow desk email. It's actual consumer behavior beyond open rates and click rates. It's consumer behavior beyond that so that you can tell a more accurate picture.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Okay.
So we do both help people get my people say this. And sometimes that's refining your onboarding forms, refining your applications, helping you ask the right questions on sales calls so that you can get that soft data. And then we also help people get the hardcore facts and the numbers. Okay. And we blend the two of those things together to create your messaging.
Okay. So now I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So like now that you've had your studio open for like 4 years now, 4 or 5 years now, and I know that you've gone through different evolutions as many business owners have. Now tell me, what do you wish people knew that you now help them with? So essentially this is the unmet need. So it's like, what do you wish that people knew that's related to how you help them now?
Oh my gosh. The number one thing is that like strategy should be the easiest part of your business. It should be the most peaceful part of your business. When I see people having a hard time with their strategy, I'm like, oh, please come to me.
Okay. What does this look like? What do you see? Like what scenarios are happening when people come to you? Because I think that we talked about this offline before we started recording around how like we both serve similar people
Yeah.
in different ways. I serve them as a coach and you serve them as a marketing consultant and strategist. I serve them as a coach with marketing knowledge. So like understanding that marketing is created through strategy, but I'm not helping you like go and create the quantitative data. But we're serving similar people in that they have a history of like struggling with similar things and things not working for them. So tell us about the things that aren't working.
The things that aren't working is that content is so hard for my clients before they come to me. Like, it's like they feel like they have to have the perfect subject lines, the perfect hooks. They feel like they have to hit 5 different notes inside of their content in order for it to be quote unquote selling. They just feel like they're like wound up in this like tight little strategic ball where they're just like, it takes me hours to produce content, or they have so many restrictions around their content and how they produce their content that they can't even get content out the door, or they self-edit themselves. They're like, no, that doesn't have the right angle. No, that's not spicy enough. No, that doesn't have the right CPA.
But what's the skill? Or like, but wait, is this tied to the result? Or does this, that, like those things?
Is this tied to the result? Is this a fluffy result? Is it safe for me to just say that I help you with X, Y, and Z?
It's like, is this too inspirational versus more concrete? Like, is this urgent enough? Like,
they're wound up tight on that.
Yes.
And
so it sounds like there's similarities, because I think that when folks work with me and when they work with you for different reasons, they're they have very loud brains.
Yeah.
And they've like tried a lot of
things. I came to you loud. And I'm a freaking marketer. And I'm like, I'm loud.
Yeah, you came to me loud. And that's why I was like, okay, no, like that makes sense. Like a lot of the things that you shared with me, I was like, yeah, that makes sense that doesn't work. That makes sense like why you don't want to do that. Or that makes sense why, you know, all the things. But like very loud brains, which are just a lot of conditions and sometimes conflicting conditions and circumstances and rules.
Yes. So when my clients come to me, they are at war with their launch strategies. They are at war with creating content.
Yeah.
They are at war with, this used to be so easy for me. And then I took a course, I downloaded a digital product, whatever. And now it feels so freaking hard. That was supposed to be the thing that made it easier for me. And now it feels harder. They are mad at their strategy because they're like, screw it. I'm just going to go back to doing what it is that I did before.
Yeah.
So they're really tough. They feel like content is extremely prescriptive. It's really hard. And then that's when people get to a place where they're like, I don't want to post anymore. I don't want to be on social. I'm just going to go back.
It used to be fun and it's not anymore, because I think that's what's happening is like, if you had a time where posting on, let's say, creating content felt fun, there's something about, and especially if it made you money.
Yes.
Because that's fascinating to me, that sometimes I'll work with people and I'm like, you were making money at once upon a time with something. Granted, sometimes it's like, is it marketing? Is it the offer? All of that. But there's so much evidence of, for every strategy that works for someone, there's always going to be truth that it doesn't work for someone else.
Yes.
So, which is another thing I was like, we're going to talk about that around strategy. So I say strategy should be one of the most peaceful parts of your business. Why is it not?
Because most people are purchasing what we've talked about in the past, which is off the shelf strategy, which by definition is not strategy. So like, I think what people don't understand, and if I could clear anyone up, is that like by definition, you cannot purchase a strategy from a course, digital product, group program, mastermind, any curriculum based. Okay. You can never purchase strategy from a curriculum. And the reason being is because strategy is by definition the company that needs the strategy, the company's goals. It's rooted in the company's goals, the company's data, and the company's ideal client. That means if you join a program and you are in that program and they are teaching you, that they label it as a strategy and they are teaching you a strategy, the thing that they created is rooted in their business. So then by definition, it cannot be a strategy for your business because the data is different. Their strategy is rooted in who they're trying to reach and their positioning and their messaging. And then they stripped it down and they tried to sell it to you. And you bought it off the shelf thinking it would work for you, and it won't.
And you said something really important I want to repeat, and tell me if I remember this incorrectly, but you said strategy is based on a company's goals, data, and ideal client.
Yes.
So is it enough to say, because I think sometimes people will say, well, my goal is to make $1 million. And so this person made $1 million. Okay, boom, that's a check. Then it's like, okay, data, they probably just skip past that. Then they're like ideal clients. It's like, oh yeah, my ideal clients are also women of color.
Yep.
And it'll be something broad like that where it's like, okay, so like this should work for me. Why doesn't it? Like, what is the difference of like why somebody else's strategy, or they may work with a coach and that coach made $1 million or whatever, they're doing what they're doing and they copy the strategy. Why doesn't it work?
Because you have to click on all 3 cylinders. If you don't, the car doesn't start.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have engine, tire, and gas. Otherwise the car doesn't move. And so then people skip over the data, and then people skip over the, well, she has similar clients to me and I'm B2C, but she's B2B, but you know, maybe we can make it work. Right.
Yes.
Or they skip over the, technically our business models aren't the same. Technically I'm an agency and technically she's a da-da-da, but you know, hey, it worked for so-and-so, so it could work for me.
Yeah.
And then they get inside those rooms or they buy the course or whatever. And they're at war with, they're like, this doesn't work for me. This feels so clunky. This feels so hard. This feels so da-da-da, da-da-da. And they're like mad, quote unquote, at the
because they've done the steps. Because that's the thing about, like, I know that you've experienced this in terms of clients you've served. And I know I've experienced this in terms of folks that have joined Reclamation, which is like, I did the steps.
Yes.
And the steps actually made my sales go down.
Yeah.
Or, you know, things like that. Like, I mean, many times I was like, well, this was working and now it's not. And now I hate it. And now I'm trying to do something else because I don't even want to be on social media anymore. And they, you know, they're trying to like solve for the symptom.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about something that I've explained to people before, but I don't have like the data, but I just know because my job as a marketer was to be like a behaviorist, right? To sort of be like what, like the marketing psychology. Essentially, I'm more of a marketing psychology expert, right? Than a data expert. That the same person buys things differently. So even if, and just if I were to just use coaching, that they would buy life coaching in a different way than they would buy money coaching. Yes. And I say this because life coaching is feely, it is vulnerable, it is emotional, whereas money is like, okay, is it going to help me learn these skills? So I think sometimes when, I don't know which one that falls into, I think there's like, you said like goals, data, and ideal client, because it's like the goals or the ideal client might be the same, but I guess that's where the data comes in because it's like those people buy differently. So if you're trying to sell life coaching with a webinar, that might not work because those people are like, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to go to that. Like this is, it's just buying it in a different way. So tell us a little bit about this, because this is another reason why it doesn't work to copy people's strategies. Yeah,
absolutely. So I would say even less so on the data front, but more so your ideal customer engages with your products differently than they engage with somebody else's. So like, for example, like even in my experience as a marketer, right? People buy marketing consulting very differently than they buy marketing coaching. So like when you hire a consultant, when you hire a consultant, you have a problem that you need consulting on. Okay.
Yeah.
And all companies do this. This is not exclusive to the coaching industry. All companies do this. When, you know, BLM was a big thing and there was all of this stuff going on about DEI and inclusivity at work, and some companies were performative, but a lot of people hired these DEI consultants to come into their company. And basically what they did is they had this person audit their entire business, audit their operations, audit their people, audit how that is that they even work all the way down to the product. I know we had it at our company, right?
Yeah.
And they had these people come in, and then these consultants told them, here's your audit, here's where your gaps are, here's how it is we recommend filling them. They kick it off. And then the company then says, okay, great. We've signed a 3-year contract with you as our consultant. You've told us all of our problems. You've given us the plan. Now we're ready to take it and run with it ourselves. And so now they've built some of the things that it is that they learned from the consultant into their business. So it's a short-term relationship. Now, in a case where you're managing a company with, you know, 20,000 people, it's a 3-year contract, right? But if you scale that concept down to the concept of 6-figure entrepreneur or a small business, that contract with me as their consultant is very small. It's maybe a 6-month to at best a year window. When you work with the coach, they are in many ways both your therapist, your life coach, you talk about all sorts of different things with your business coach. And you often are consistently renewing because mindset is not something that ever has a start and end date.
Yeah.
But consulting on a problem is something that you can fix.
Yeah. It's like you can actually walk away. You can download, essentially the consultant can help you download all the information that they need, and they can come back and say, here's the actual steps.
Yes.
But if that were, and people do need that because sometimes they're getting coaching when they actually need, and I wanted to ask about this, they're getting coaching when they need consulting. But then even when you have consulting, it doesn't mean that you won't still need some level of coaching. It depends on the person in order to do the steps, navigate challenges, and just you as the human. It's the human is the wild card, right? The human is the wild card that requires the coaching. So tell us about that, around the difference between coaching and consulting, and how do you know that you need consulting, like marketing consulting versus coaching, and how the two like work together? Because we see that there's people who will go into marketing coaching, or they'll go into sales coaching, or they'll go into some sort of coaching because it's actually sold very strategically.
Yeah.
And then this is what happens. So
and then they come to my doorstep and they're like, what? It could be like this. Yeah.
Or it's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, or I actually don't like that I'm doing this, or I'm not on board with why I'm doing this. And so that's where they're getting and so I think there's a very, very wide spectrum of coaching.
Yeah.
But I would say that like 100% pure coaching is no answers. There is no do this, do that. So I even have said that, like, I think that there's people who are almost like a percentage, right? So I think like there are certain things I can consult on only because I've done them and or I've witnessed them enough to say I have a recommendation. But the majority of what a coach should do is actually help you arrive at your answers versus telling you what to do. But I think that sometimes people will join programs that are very like, we will tell you what to do.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where the person needs coaching.
That's not even consulting, because consulting is rooted in the company's data. That's the reason why, if you notice, every single consultant will always start with an audit.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you join a coaching program, you don't get an audit.
Yeah,
ain't nobody auditing, gutting your messaging, looking at all the gaps, reading through your form. Even when you just onboarded with me, I did an entire audit before I gave you my recommendation.
What I ask for. Because otherwise your client doesn't know what to ask for. They're asking for a Band-Aid without realizing it. And so I think, in order for you to adequately help someone, there needs to be an audit. Which is why I personally, because I understand that, I love going through people's onboarding process, because it's like, I'm going to learn so much about myself if you are actually properly onboarded versus if you join a coaching program, you just join a coaching program and then you get onboarded through their curriculum. It's like, here's our philosophy, here's our framework.
So you have to adopt their stuff.
Yes. But there isn't anyone looking at you. So that's a really good point. So tell us kind of about when do they need consulting versus when they need coaching, and kind of like where the trip up happens.
Yeah.
In terms of when people are deciding where to invest their money. Yeah. I want someone to listen to this and be like, in this season, what do I really need? Because I think that people will invest sometimes in coaching that is prescriptive, because what they actually want is answers, but sometimes the person doesn't actually, they may need consulting, but they may be going through some internal stuff and they want to bypass that by getting answers. So sometimes you need both. That's the thing. It's like, how would you say that people can navigate like deciding what they need?
2 checkpoints. 1, you want to understand exactly what is going on in your business. Like one of the things you said to me is like, I want you to look at my messaging and tell me what you think the gaps are in my messaging.
I want you to tell me what I don't know.
Tell me what I don't know about my business. Don't tell me what it is that you know that you've seen other people do. Don't tell me what it is that you know that works for people like me. I want you to literally come inside my business. I'm going to open up my office doors. I'm going to let you browse around. And then I want you to tell me all the things that it is that you don't see. Here's what I, Mariella, or I, Jane, think the problems are. Then I want you to tell me what it is you want to see. That's number 1 when you need consulting. Number 2 is when you need an expert to tell you what to do about what it is that they found. Yeah.
When you actually are like, no, I want you to ask me the questions. I will give you the answers. And then I want you to tell me exactly what to do.
Yes. Yes. So when my clients work with me, I tell them exactly what to do. They're like, hey, this is where it is that I'm at. First of all, we do an audit. All my clients get an audit. And that tells me where their foundations are and where they have gaps, even if they haven't necessarily seen them.
Yeah.
And then after we do the audit, then I go back. And then when they are working with me, whether it's one-on-one consulting or whether it's inside of my content retainer, which includes consulting, inside of that, then they're like, hey, I have an idea for X, Y, and Z. What do you think? I'm like, that doesn't align to your goals. This will get you here faster. You should be doing X, Y, and Z. And then does this align with you? They're like, no, I don't. Like, for example, I just gave a client a recommendation to do a challenge. She was like, I don't want to do a challenge because I don't like challenges. I said, okay, great. Scrap the challenge, but here's what I want. You have to create a way for your clients to get active about your work. Right now, that's too passive. It's too much. I read your content, I like it, I share it, and I don't do anything about it. I need you to find a way to actively get your hands on your people. That has to happen. You can figure out what that looks like, but that has to happen.
But you're explaining the why, like what's the outcome. And you're like, however you arrive at that outcome, the deliverable can be different.
Yes. So when my clients are working with me as a consultant, they are not blindly following me and not understanding why they're doing what it is that they're doing.
That is a gap.
Is it? Okay.
No, that's a gap. To speak to people, because I would say almost it's so funny because I'm like, we see different sides of the same coin. I think that the majority of intake forms and reclamation said something about, I was doing this, but I don't know why I'm doing it. And it doesn't feel like good to me. And I just feel like I'm doing it wrong. Like I'm the only person that it doesn't work for. Or I feel like I'm the only person that isn't doing it right. So they all kind of came from, I tried to do this thing, but like I don't know why I'm doing it, or I'm not fully on board with why I'm doing it, or I was wanting to do this and then I was told XYZ and then I don't really know, and I'm not fully on board with that, but nobody really ever explained to me why.
Yeah.
And that is a gap. So that's important.
Yeah. And I will also let my clients fill in the gaps on what the thing is. I'm like, we need this. If it's not the challenge, don't do the challenge. Great. I don't care about the challenge. The challenge was just a means to the end. Yeah. You can decide what the means are, but we need to get here. Here's why. Do you agree that we need to get here? They're like, yeah, I agree that we need to get here. That totally makes sense.
Well, then they get to be a participant in it.
Yes.
If the goal is activate your audience, not the strategy is you need to do XYZ. It's like, no, the goal
the strategy is you have to have a webinar. The strategy is you have to have a challenge. I don't care what the medium is.
Yeah.
You can go outside with signs. If you want to, you could go to a freaking event and hand out cards or host something. I don't care how you do it, but there's this gap. We got to figure out how we fill it.
Yes.
Let's collaborate on what that looks like. And then they feel super empowered because they're like, it's my idea. I feel like the full CEO of my business, and she's using her brain from multiple different backgrounds. That's another thing that a consultant too, is that a really good consultant will draw from like 300 different experiences to be able to say to you, here's a list of 50 ways to achieve the goal that it is that you want to achieve. I can always tell when someone is not a seasoned consultant when they only have 1 to 2 answers for how to solve a problem. I'm like, a consultant will have 500 different things that it is that they can say to you on how
like
to
actually bringing ideas to the client as well.
Yeah.
Is also,
Yeah. So when I talk to my clients, I have a buttload of ideas to get to their outcome. And then they get to choose which ones they want, or then we're ideating together. And I'm like, yeah, that still accomplishes the goal. Great. Let's run with it. But they feel so empowered, and they sell easier and they market easier and they show up in their business easier because they're like, these are my ideas. I understand why I'm doing what it is that I'm doing. And I understand the goal that it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So that being said, what would you say, like, what is something that you want people to know now that they've like listened to this and they hear themselves in both worlds of like where they invested in coaching that was sold as consulting, but it was actually off the shelf strategy versus when they've wanted to go and get answers, but they actually really needed coaching and they were given answers, because I see that as well. What do you want people to know if they see themselves in either of the situations? Because you, for example, invested in coaching in reclamation, but you're a consultant and you found your answers to your product suite now, but there was something that you needed. And we're going to talk about that in like the subsequent episode.
Yeah.
But like, how would you define like how somebody decides what it is that they need?
I think you always need a blend of both because there's always going to be an answer and then there's going to be your thoughts about the answer.
Yeah.
right? So like, I don't ever think that it's like
Yeah.
one season you're in consulting and that solves all your needs, and then one season
Mhm.
you're in coaching. I think you need both. Where I have the
Yeah.
rub with some of the things that I hear in the coaching industry is so
Yeah.
many coaches promote that strategy is not the answer. And
Mhm.
I think people don't understand that strategy is a complement to all the work that it is that you're doing inside of mindset coaching. And they're
Mhm.
actually not supposed to be one or the other. They're supposed to work together. And so
Yeah.
if your clients are coming to you and they're stuck
Yes.
on prescriptive stuff, that means that they didn't have the right strategy to begin with. They had a
Yeah.
process. They bought off the shelf strategy. They bought an off the shelf process. And now they're telling themselves that they hate strategy or they hate creating content.
Yes.
But it's like the reality is that they just didn't have something that was built from their business.
Yeah.
And if they did, a lot of the drama that comes out inside of mindset coaching would not be there if they
Yeah.
actually had something that was for their business.
That was, you know what you made me think of, Kierra? I feel like I just figured out with the way that you said, like, okay, they're what they're asking for versus what they're getting versus what they need and how the two things work together. So it isn't like more strategies bad
Yeah.
or mindset, like you can't mindset your way out of this, because I think I'll hear both sides of the coin where they're kind of like pooing on strategy or
Right.
on mindset. However, what I've witnessed is that if you feel frustration over how you're being, if you feel frustration over the mindset coaching, or you feel frustration because you're asking the question and getting the answer, it's probably because you need the other thing
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So sometimes what happens is you're asking, you're like, okay, so how should I do this for my launch, whatever. And then they go, here's all the steps. And then the person's still like, yeah, but what about this? But I'm not on board with that, but I don't like this. And then they start, it's like, because you need coaching.
Yeah.
And you also could say, I'm planning this launch. And then you get mindset coaching. And in the end, you walk away and you say, well, I'm so aware of my thoughts, but now my thoughts are frustrated because I still don't know what to do. That it's like you actually do need both.
Both.
And I think it's this being very transparent about what you're selling and like being also aware of what is it that your client needs and saying, here's what I can guide you on. But as far as all the other things, like you need strategy and you need coaching. I can say this as someone who made one of my biggest coaching investments was a very, very mindset heavy container. And it was focused on like getting to $2 million. And I think I realized in that container, and it was such a valuable lesson. And obviously we invest a lot of money sometimes to learn the lessons, was I needed a lot more tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Really, because I was in the trenches and I was like, I almost was like, I beg somebody to tell me, like, I get the thoughts, but like, I actually have it happening directly in front of me, like today, this week, next week.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure that part out. So I think that that's so important.
Yeah.
That's
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think I think if a lot of people, even when they do get the consulting, I always say like, find someone like one-to-one, or find a consultant that you can, if it is a one-to-many program, find something where there is a diverse range of consulting happening, right? And you can at least either learn from other people or have a variety to choose from, because consulting there should be depth to the consulting. And so if
it's
you're
like
not
the
going to
opposite of one size fits all. It's literally like quite the opposite of one size fits all. Like you should feel like, oh, this makes sense for me and I understand why.
Yes.
Audit. Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the people that come to me feel like I went into a program and then I left and I felt very misunderstood.
Or left more confused.
More confused. Yeah. Or like everything just felt hard. It felt heavy. And a lot of times that has to do with like, you know, sometimes people make things complicated so that you have to keep staying, you know? You know, I mean, and that doesn't just happen in our industry. That happens all around us, right?
I've seen that in question and answer culture. I call it question and answer culture in coaching, especially like we're going to talk about this in the next, in like our episode of where I'm going to ask you about your experience in reclamation, but just around how if you show up and it's question, answer, and that's pretty much like what's happening, then it's like a very like consulting approach to sometimes what actually needs coaching. And so like if you sense a sense of frustration and or more confusion afterwards, you probably need more coaching. And less, like, and it's not like you said, it's not consulting, but it's like we're leaning into something and it isn't working. Like what we actually need is to have somebody help us figure out what the steps should be rather than copying the steps. Yeah.
So, if you get an answer and you still are spinning out about it, that's where you need some coaching.
Yeah. And I find a lot of times people don't ask because I'll say, well, what did you ask? And they're like, no, I just was told like I shouldn't do it that way.
Yeah.
And they're like, but I always had this inclination that like that just didn't make sense, or like their business model was different. One other thing that you made me think of around this is like, in terms of evaluating decisions, it's like, unless you actually want and have the exact business model someone else has and you want exactly what they have, don't go in rooms where everybody is doing the exact same thing. Because a good marker of helping people figure out strategy is that people are succeeding in different ways.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there is only like one way that works.
Yeah.
And like one thing, which we'll talk about in the Reclamation episode, is like, if you, which is why I cultivate the skill of leadership. I call it leadership. I mean, because it really is like, how do you make decisions? But you should be, if you want to create something that isn't exactly what somebody else has, you need to be somewhere where people are doing different things.
Yep.
Where they're succeeding in different ways, their strategies actually look different, the ways that they market, like all the things look different, because then you're going to just be like, oh, I get it. She's doing that, but that makes sense because she's got hella plugs into like these organizations. And like, oh, she's such a great storyteller. And like, oh, she loves being on TikTok and creating content. Like, and it all makes sense.
Too many people buy results and don't buy how you get the result.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't realize that how important that is.
No, that's where all the magic happens.
Yes.
Like that's where all of it happens. Like, but so many people are busy buying the result, buying the outcome that it is that they see other people having, that like they skip over the company goals, data, and the buyer.
Ideal client and how the ideal client interacts with what you sell. Because that was so important when we talked about it earlier, that you literally could be selling to the same person as someone else in your industry, but they buy your thing different than their thing because of the nature of the product.
Oh,
so same way.
I changed my entire business model in August from high ticket project based to like mid-tier retainer style based. And it changed my business. I went from one client in, one client out, 0% retention to 80% retention because I stopped arguing with how my client buys content. My client does not buy content like they invest in a coach. They don't. No. Although I know as myself, as a marketing consultant and all my years of experience, I know what I'm worth at X, Y, and Z, but they do not purchase content, consulting, support, marketing, whatever in that way. They buy it like they buy a team member, like they hire a VA, like they hire an OBM. So I said, you know what? This is how y'all buy it. This is how I'm going to sell it to you.
Yes. Changing consumer behavior. If you have a product or service that makes people have to change their behavior, you're going to have a really hard time.
Yes. And I spent the first half, we'll talk about this in Reclamation, how like I literally changed my entire business model. But I spent the first 8 months of the year trying to change consumer behavior and how it is they viewed my services. And then I switched it and light bulb went off.
I remember the frustrated conversation. And I was like, I'm glad you brought this to me, because I was like, well, what are they asking for? What would it look like for you to give them what they want? And then like figure it out from there. So I want to ask you about that. Before we do, I wanted to close out this one by asking you, tell us about how people can work with you. Like, what are your offers and who are they for? So that people can kind of see themselves in it.
Yeah. So I have the marketing membership, and that is where we help you build your offer suite and set the foundation for your business to help you sign your either next 5 to 10 clients or your first 5 to 10 clients. So like that's the offer where people are like, I have a skill. I'm either getting paid for it in corporate or I'm subcontracting to somebody else, and I want to build my first offer suite. I don't know what to sell, don't know how to refine it. I'm pivoting from something that I used to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's where we set the foundational work in the marketing membership. And then we have the content retainer, and that is where you get done for you content. You can buy different packages. We can either manage all of your content for one platform, up to 2 platforms, or then sometimes we have clients that are in a launch, a pivot, a rebrand, and they need like a whole sweep. You know, hook me up with some website copy. I need pitch decks. I need X, Y, and Z. And so in that content retainer, we create all of those assets for people.
And this is like copywriting for people based on them, their business, their voice, their desired outcome, not just repurposing stuff you've already said.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It can be repurposing, and it is, but you also are actually writing for then and telling them, hey, these podcast episodes could be supportive with this. Oh, you could do this. So that there's an element of consulting in there. And it's so funny,
we do consult.
Anytime I learn something new, I'm just like, Kierra, I didn't know that. I was like, ooh, that's gold. Like, be loud about that. The consulting part in your done for you content is like, that is like unheard of, because it's literally like a mix of tell me what to do, but also could you do it?
Yeah, we just had a call the other day and everyone was just like, this one person was just like, I don't know how to sell this offer. And I told her, I gave her some pointers and I was like, well, at the end of the day, we're going to write the content for you. So you don't need to know how to sell it because we're going to sell it for you. And she was like, great. I love that. Cool.
Yeah.
And then left the
Although
call.
when you see someone sell for you, you also learn how to sell it.
Yeah. So she was like, great. I love that I didn't have to walk. I love that I walked away from this call with nothing on my to-do list. It's like, it's consulting, but it's done for you. So she just left and was like, great. I'm glad you told me the answer. Y'all have fun with that. Call me when it's ready.
So you have the done for you content retainer, and it's tell me like the different like levels of that folks can invest in depending on what they need.
Yeah. So we have the essentials package, and that is where if you need like one thing, so you're like, I have Instagram on lock, but like, dear God, I need someone to write my emails for me. Or I've been really wanting to get into blogging. I don't have time to learn SEO. I don't have time to do it, but I understand the importance of it. Can you write on my blogs for the month? Like, that is someone who really wants us to centralize around like one particular channel that it is that they want us to focus on. So that's the essentials package. And then we have the signature package, and that is for someone who needs a little bit more comprehensive. And I would say for the CEO who wants to be about like 80% out of their marketing. Like, they really want to kind of just come in.
That's a good way of describing it.
They want to check a couple different things, maybe add a few notes, and then they're done. They really just want to be able to pass it off to their team. Even the way we deliver that component, that container, is designed for your team to, like, we have a section that like where there's edits, and then we have another section where it's like ready to go. So your team can literally just copy paste into your email, into your LinkedIn, into your whatever. Because it's designed for the CEO who's like, give me the content. I need a lot of it. I am on multiple channels. I want you guys to, or they want us to like refresh their messaging. They want us to be a little bit more integrated.
Like multi-platform, but also a little bit of consulting in there too. But then they also get to delegate it.
Exactly. Okay. And then we have the works, which is literally someone who wants the works, right? Like, and that's for the person who is, it's been a minute since I've done a whole website refresh and I want a website refresh.
Yeah.
I also need new content because I'm launching. I need content ideas for one platform, and then I need actual content for another platform. So that's another thing that we do too, is that, we'll repurpose your content. We will write your content from scratch. But there's a lot of people who still want to create their content, and they want us to give them ideas. So like for platforms like YouTube or platforms like podcast, if you just need us to give you a bunch of podcast ideas with outlines on what you should talk about or how you can sell your offer in the podcast.
And that's the consulting.
Like, that's the consulting piece. Yeah. Okay. So the works is more so for someone who's rebranding, pivoting, launching an entire business from scratch, needs web copy, needs something a little bit more extensive. So those are the three levels.
Love it. And I think that also helps. It changes the way that people show up to their coaches, because they can come and say, here's what I actually am doing. I have some thoughts about this, or like I have some thoughts about the price, or how would I talk to my current clients who are renewing about it? I have some thoughts. I have some grandfathered clients. Like, then you get some coaching around there, and
it changes how you relate to just about everybody on your team, because now if your content's being taken care of by a content professional, you go to, and you're getting content consulting, which is this is another thing too. We didn't talk about this earlier, but this is another thing. If you are investing in coaching, if you're investing in coaching and 80 to 90% of your questions are about marketing, hire a mother freaking marketing strategist. Please call me or somebody. I don't care who it is. Find somebody, but do not hire a generalist business coach to ask 80 to 90% questions around marketing. Hire a marketing person.
Yes. I will even say this as a coach who was a marketer professionally for 16 years. Absolutely. I think out of most coaches, I can talk to you about marketing more than most coaches because I actually did it. And then I can tell you like, yeah, that's why that strategy probably fell off to you because your consumers buy differently. So like, I think a lot of people understand marketing better when they work with me. That being said, if they are coming to me and they mostly have marketing questions, I feel like it's like you're using a skill that's not like, it's like wasting the best part of it, which is like
hiring
you
general
develop
business
as a person.
Stop hiring general business coaches when you don't have general business coaching questions.
Yes.
You have a what do I post on Instagram question. You have a how do I launch my email list question. You have a I don't know how to sell my offer question. Why are you like hire a marketer? So that's another note from our earlier conversation.
There's realms of that too, where it's like there's only so much, even as a coach, that someone will like want to create all of these resources around on like how to teach you marketing, because it's like, is it a marketing program? Is it a coaching program? And so I think it's just figuring out like, if you pretty much have all questions and you're like question, answer, that's a very consulting type of relationship.
Yes.
But if you're showing up to a coaching container, I feel like the best way to utilize it is like, who do I also want to become? What do I want to get better at? What do I want to work through? Because that's going to help you. Actually,
way to use coaching.
You'll ask different questions when you're also like, can this coach help me become, who do I want them to become? What do I want to get more resilient at? What do I want to get better at in terms of skills versus just answers? So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That being said, how can people keep up with you? How do you want them to like follow you? How else can they connect with you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at KLC the Studio. And then you can find me also on my podcast, Data Over Drama.
Data Over Drama. You guys check it out. Thank you so much, Kierra. We're going to be back. We're going to pause. We're going to come back and we'll talk about reclamation. But thank you everyone for listening, and definitely reach out to Kierra.